doesn't work.
It's kicked me more than once.
I think it was an accident. I think you had like.
He's on a bad course, Al. I mean, a very bad course.
We're on.
Good evening. Tonight is March 3rd, 2016. This is the Newmarket School Board. Call the meeting to order and invite everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask Julia to lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask the board's indulgence to play with the agenda just a little bit. We have I think, a relatively brief agenda tonight, which is good. I'm going to steal Julia's thunder and jump right up and tell everybody that Newmarket's varsity boys basketball team is, as we speak, I think, tip-off was 7 p.m. They are in Littleton tonight in the second round, I think, of the tournaments, playing Littleton up there. Littleton's ranked number one. We were not quite number one, and I don't know how we went in ranked, but everyone take a pencil, because if you were at home, or if you happen to have an iPad like I do, and going to do this in the next minute or two, you can go to nsnsports.net, like Nathan Smith, nsnsports.net, and you can see it streaming live right now. If Jason were here, we'd make him put it on that TV, and we'd all watch that in a distracted manner, but maybe we can be out of here in 10 or 15 minutes, and we can all go watch the game. So good luck to the Mules tonight as they take on Littleton up there. Watch it at nsnsports.net. We have a recognition. We'll postpone that so that we give the opportunity for the student to join us. So I would jump right up and invite public comment if there is any this evening. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I just hate to remind you again, bad timing, the light board out there, the most recent thing it had on it today was the 29th of February, and we have a ballot on Tuesday.
Thank you.
I don't know who manages that, but it would be nice if they would help the school board out in getting that word out.
That's great. Thank you.
Nathan's job.
Oh, and by the way, I'm Ingrid Alberg, and I'm Alias Circle.
Could somebody on the town
Legitimately
side,
here.
And I'll ask. I'll have the superintendent ask the town office tomorrow where we're at with that.
Ethan, I'm going to send an email to the town administrator about adding a blurb for the newsletter again. Would
Okay.
you like me to address that?
If you could at the same time, that'd be
Okay.
outstanding. Is there any other public comment tonight? I guess let me, as a matter of public comment, offer this. We talked last week at our last meeting about a program ongoing sponsored by the wellness program at the junior senior high school and the Parent Staff Connection Group, funded by the Newmarket Community Education Partnership, about substance abuse prevention, making a difference, a program for parents and students that's been going on at the junior senior high school. And I asked last time, wow, I'd like to be able to make sure we talked about that. So let me just say, it's a program, it's 6 parts. We've had 3 of them already. 6 parts led by Chris Placey, who's a member of the Governor's Commission for Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery. He's also the owner of Substance Free Workplace, and he's done a great job. I went to one of the sessions. There are 3 left. The next one upcoming is March 16th, which is Monday night. They're all Monday nights. In March 16th, April 20th, and May 18th. The one coming up March 16th is Building Drug Resistance and Resilience in Your Teen, Part 1. It's at the junior senior high school at 6:30 for about an hour and a half, each of those 3 remaining Mondays. And I encourage folks to take a look. This upcoming March 16th meeting is recommended for parents only. You're invited to bring your teen to the next 2. If you have any questions, certainly you can ask at the junior senior high school. They have that information. So if that's it for public comment, Julia, your turn. Other than stealing your thunder about the high school boys team, tell us what's going on.
Well, the boys team is also going to have their sports awards night on March 8th at 6 p.m. Girls basketball finished 8-11 in the first round of playoffs. Ice hockey finished with 13-4-1 and have earned a top 4 seed in playoffs, so they have 2 home games. An indoor track, their banquet will be Monday, March 14th at 6. There's a junior high dance on the 11th from 7 to 9. And the 6th grade book report museum was last night from 6:30 to 7:30, and it was very well attended. And also yesterday, the juniors took the SATs. So, dessert and a show will be on Tuesday, March 15th at the elementary school. And the National Honor Society's game show night will be Thursday, the 17th at 7 o'clock. That's when we meet next. And there will be no school the following day, the 18th. And that Saturday, the 19th, will be the 8th grade's annual penny sale.
Oh, wow. So double on that. So we don't have the gym in commission yet, so the junior, senior high school dessert and a show is Tuesday night, the 15th, at 6:30, but it's at the elementary.
It's at the elementary
2
school.
days later, on Thursday, the elementary band and chorus have their dessert and a show also at the elementary at 6:30. It's excellent. Anybody else on the board, anything to add to the calendar? Anything else? Okay. Moving right along then.
Don't forget bingo. Did you mention bingo?
Oh, bingo, missed. Oh, that was what? We've got 2 coming up scheduled.
2 more coming up.
This is the 12th, Saturday, the 12th of March, 11:30. And then the second Saturday in April, the 9th of April, also at 11:30. Bingo.
A few more left.
At the junior, senior high, okay. Don't forget, March 8th, our voting, 7 to 7, on town and school. The town has that single article, it's the budget, but we have a full ballot, and we hope the folks will turn out 7 to 7 right here at Town Hall on Tuesday, March 8th.
And again, there's that video on YouTube, if you have any questions on
Yes.
what ballots, what's on the ballot, and what they're all about.
And it's going to be going out again in the newsletter, and I'm going to ask the PTA to send it out too.
Okay, good.
Okay, on our agenda tonight, we have a request, we have a proposal to accept a donation of a piano to the music department. Anybody got information on that? Oh, maybe I should just read this. Sorry, it's in the packet. Let me go to the next page. Emily Lauer is working with Jamie Ray. Emily's working with the high school the junior senior high school chorus, and Jamie's working with the high school band. They forwarded to the board the following letter. Pleased to inform us that the Dion family has generously offered to donate their piano to the junior senior high school. They no longer have a use for it, and they'd like to help the school by donating it to the music program. Accepting this donation would allow the new chorus program to continue growing next year. It's a possibility that senior high and junior high choruses will have rehearsals in 2 different rooms at the same time next year. Without a second piano, we'd have to move our piano around the school every other day. Such frequent moving can be detrimental to the condition, certainly to the tuning of a piano, I editorialize. The Dion's piano is in good condition, should not need any repairs other than standard tunings on a regular basis. It's a Wurlitzer brand. It's about 35 years old. Again, I editorialize. Sounds like the exact same piano that I grew up playing. That's awesome. Purchase of a comparable piano would be somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000. The family has simply asked that the school be responsible for picking up and transporting the piano to the school. We'll need to purchase a dolly system, which would be about $200 to $400. Accepting the donation would significantly help the program at junior senior high school. It'll be more than cost effective to maintain this piano than it would be certainly to purchase a piano on our own, and having a second one would allow the program's chorus program to expand and help us hold junior high chorus rehearsals in a secondary location. Thanks for your consideration. Certainly can't thank the Dion family enough. If I have now pronounced Dion multiple times and it's Dion, somebody would have to let me know, but I seek a motion. We have a policy, donations of this sort must be considered and adopted or accepted by the board, so appreciate them putting this in writing and sending it along to us. I would ask the board for a motion to accept the donation.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion, questions, thoughts?
This is excellent, I think, and anything we can do to enhance the music program is something I fully support.
Any other discussion?
And perhaps the board ought to send the family a note of
Thanks, absolutely. And, yeah, definitely. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison, to accept donation of the Wurlitzer from the Dion family. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we are unanimous. And really, from all of us, thank you very much. I know the music program will appreciate that, and we'll follow up with the staff in making sure that we secure the dolly system so we can secure the piano. Next up on our agenda is a unified sports program. I know that we have Ryan Lavasser and Gene Parsons here with us. Ryan's our transition coordinator, and Gene Parsons is our director of student services. There was information provided in the packet. Would you guys like to speak to this and just basically describe the program that you're recommending or proposing?
Sorry, I've never done one of these before.
Hey, we're glad to have you. Just
A unified sports program would allow students of various abilities to take part in athletics after school. Students with and without disabilities to actually even earn varsity letters in soccer, basketball, and track. Those are the three proposed sports for fall, winter, and spring. I've had experience with the soccer and track programs at another school, and it's just a fantastic opportunity for those kids to learn those skills you learn on the field. They might not have an opportunity otherwise to learn. So.
And the beauty of it is that the team is half typically developing students and half students with special needs. So there's a lot of camaraderie that forms, and it also helps to teach the skills more and offers, makes the teams a little more competitive sometimes. And there were a lot of teams, I think, included in the packet, was a list. At least I gave a list to Mike
Yeah.
of all the teams in the area and highlighted the ones that Oyster River is already. Ryan got that together for us so that we could show you that there's a lot of schools that already have it. It won't cost anything for the board because I would use IDEA grant funds. It's a perfect use of those funds. Makes good sense.
Great.
I should be able to do that for, for some in the future.
And for what it's worth, the total program cost, okay, let me go back. What we didn't say is, we're talking about, you're proposing a unified sports program that is a joint effort with Newmarket and Epping, so that we can jump in to compete with the likes of Exeter and Dover and Oyster River.
Summersworth and Spalding, yeah.
Summersworth, right?
Somersworth, yeah, so, which is great. So the total cost that I see proposed is somewhere on the order of maybe $9,600. And really, that's all being borne either in Epping or by our federal grant.
Mhm.
So we're not talking about
The
any,
actual cost to us the first year is less than $3,000
Perfect,
because
yeah.
of some costs that Newmarket is, Epping is waiting. It's all spelled out in there.
It's all
So it's
spelled
really
out.
a very small price. It will enable us to get uniforms and everything else and pay coaches stipends. And
Yeah.
this was Brian's idea, and this is Brian's first year as transition coordinator. He's awesome. I'll embarrass him so he can get nice and
Cool.
red-faced.
Great, thanks.
And he really has pursued this and wanted to do it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something that's missing in our district. We don't have a lot of students with disabilities at the high school who would be eligible. We do have a small number, and the complement from Epping gives us a nice-sized team, and we should be able to field.
And numbers coming up from the middle school too would,
Good.
yeah.
So,
There's-
we're really kind of excited about it.
And would the practice be at Epping?
That is
Field
to
side?
be determined.
Yeah.
We have to figure out.
Yeah.
um,
And it wouldn't
the nuts and
start
bolts
until,
piece.
it wouldn't start until the fall, right?
Right.
Right, we're still organizing. Epping has just presented the same request to their board and it's just been accepted by the Epping board. And we have some issues to take care of, to get coaches and get referees and so on set up so that we know, get our schedule, meet with the other teams, prepare. The actual season won't start till the fall. And we would hope that maybe at some point to be able to use our high school gym when it's available as well. But that would be something we would schedule with the high school principal, obviously.
That's my concern, just the lack of field time. So if Epping's saying we could use their fields and their facilities, that would make a huge difference. We only have the 1-2 fields that we need for high school and junior high.
Right. I was thinking more of the basketball might be here too, but yes, you're right.
Well, the teams are relatively small too, and if we have 2 coaches for one of the teams, we could actually have separate practices and then meet for games as well. So there are workarounds that I've discussed with Epping.
How is the responsibility for supervision of the students allocated?
We would be hiring coaches from, well, I've spoken with some UNH students that would be interested in taking part, who have worked in similar programs in Massachusetts, so.
Did the athletic directors from both districts, I mean, how does it happen? Who hires?
Jamie and Larry in Epping would be, they're the athletic directors involved. I'm trying to deflect as much from Jamie as I can right now.
I can't answer it, just say I can't answer it.
I can't answer it
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
sure.
But Jamie has already been approached about it, and
Mhm.
he's supporting the idea.
Brian, could you explain your role again?
I'm the transition coordinator at the high school.
Tell us what that means.
Tell us,
What
yeah,
do you do?
Well,
If you can hold off a little,
Yeah.
March 17th, we requested to come before the board and to do a presentation that
So,
Ryan would do to
putting that
do
together
all the
for you now.
description of what he does. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So my role right now in the high school is essentially to expose students to career options after they finish at Newmarket. So for the general ed population, that's job shadows. So going to different businesses and having them experience, a day on the job there. And in the special ed realm, it's more working on soft job skills like task completion, taking direction from a supervisor, and they've been taking them out in the community and having them practice those skills.
And how long have you been here?
5 months?
Yeah,
Oh,
this is his
yeah.
first year.
Is this a
Ryan
new
was
position?
formerly a para with us, and then he went to Oyster River for a while, and then he applied this fall, and we were really excited because he has experience. He's been certified as a job coach already through
Great.
our facility, and he has a lot of good knowledge and a lot of good experience with this, and also our former transition coordinator, Blake Neary, is one of his mentors. Blake is now a special education teacher for us. So he's had a lot of mentoring, and Ryan has a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of interest in this, and the kids really like him and get along with him. He's the perfect one for the job. He works a lot with special education, with writing. Our individual ed plans have to have components of transition in them. We have rules we have to follow. We'll go through all that next meeting, hopefully. And he's responsible for that. He also teaches parts of senior seminar, which is a required course for our graduating seniors, and Ryan's involved with that. And he also teaches it online for
Well, the senior seminar class is mostly online.
mostly online. So he's involved there too.
Great, thank you.
So,
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Does the board have sufficient information to act on this tonight? If so, I'd seek a motion of the board to approve the request to establish a unified sports team with Epping and move forward for 16-17.
I make a motion to join with Epping in participating in, I want to make sure I want to get the title right here, Project Unify.
Need a second?
Second?
Any more discussion?
I would just like a little bit more information regarding field time, because it's hard now,
Yeah.
limited space that we have, so I just want to make sure that we can work that out with Epping. I love the idea of the opportunities for the other kids to get some time, because they need volunteer time. I just think it's a great opportunity for everybody, but I just want to make sure that it's something that can work within our limited space.
So should we ask them as an adjunct or as an add-on to their report when they come on the agenda again, to bring back an update on that?
Yeah, we'll just
Tell us
have-
where the space is gonna be, and
Yeah.
you wanna table until then, or do you wanna vote it and get that report later? You wanna act on this tonight still and just get that information, or do you wanna wait until you have it?
How about we wait until we have it? Does that work out? Do you have to have your answer right away, or how is this working for your schedule?
I can check with Epping tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. I mean, he'll have the information, give it to us.
We'll vote on it in
Yeah.
the next meeting? All right, so I'm gonna accept, I have a motion from Mr. Zink, second from Ms. Kennison, but a request by Ms. McKinney to table. And so we'll put that on the agenda of the 17th and take action then, okay?
Okay, thank you.
We've talked about the voting day being March 8th at Town Hall. Remind everybody that the polls will open at 7 a.m. and close not before 7 p.m. that night. I remind the board, as I did in email, folks, thanks for coming and thank you for all of the work you're doing.
For considering it, we really do appreciate it.
I had Penny send a quick note out to the board. I just remind you again in public session, it's different in every community, and I've never been quite sure. The practice here has been that the ballots when finalized, or the voting when finalized on the second Tuesday, the results are not only signed off by the moderator and the clerk who manage that process, but they're vetted and witnessed by the board as well. So Penny will be looking for all of us that evening. There's probably not reason for, I don't think we're going to see a lot of hand-counted ballots, so I don't think the process will take long that night. It's a real small ballot on the town side. So I guess what I'm saying is the polls should close at 7. We probably ought to be here between 7 and 8 to call it final and to sign off, rather than waiting. Some nights you can wait until 10 or 11 because there's a lot of work to be done.
But Kim and I can't count.
You guys could count, if there's any need to count on the town side, you could touch town ballots because you're on the school ballot, you shouldn't. So it'll be left to the three of us. If there's any, other members of the community can come in and help, under the supervision of the clerk and the moderator as well. And there'll be town selectmen that are there who are not on the ballot and they can help. But if everybody can plan to be there, really 7 to 8, I think, is going to be the bulk of what we need that night. I know that we're continuing to work on the ed specs and the communications, but in the areas of facilities and communications, anything else you guys want to offer up a report tonight?
Just add on, Nate, to what you said about it's important that people get out there and vote. We have several warrant articles that pertain to the facility issues. We have, the purchase of the McGrath property, which is very important. Also the warrant article dealing, and I forget their numbers. We explain all these, by the way, in the video that that we talked about earlier. There's the warrant article about the land in the back of the school. There's a warrant article about funds for architectural and analysis work on the facilities. I'm not sure if I'm leaving anything out. There's some important stuff there. So, I know it's sort of an off cycle for voting, but it's important that people get out and spread the word to others to get out as well and vote.
The video's on the landing page of the website, too, for the SAU website.
Okay.
And are the Mark Joyce, are those up on the website as well?
Patty?
Dr. Joyce's?
Yeah, Dr. Joyce's report is up there. If you go to the homepage, you go to the facilities page, it's in the documents.
Anything else under the continuing items of facilities or communications?
I'd like to, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I think if we could add to continuing items the upcoming meeting with town council.
Yes.
I think we need to have some more discussions about that because I'm not really sure who's leading who. And that's kind of a...
Well, I owe Phil Navarro a call right now about a subcommittee to really advance that with you included in that process. So let me add it to the next agenda, and I think that's the next piece, is making sure that the board and the council have some, we had talked about inviting them to have small representation for a subgroup that would get started.
Right.
So that when the full boards meet, there's something of substance that can be acted on rather than housekeeping.
Right. I think we had talked about the appropriateness of having the first meeting after new people are in place.
Right. Yep.
We talked about scheduling that meeting right
Yep, the end of the month. So I'll talk to him tomorrow. I'll reach out.
Before then,
The subgroup needs to start the conversation so that, again, when we meet at the end of March, it's not, P's and Q's. There's actually something deliverable in front of us that the subgroup has brought so that the conversation can have direction.
right, and if we could put that on the continuing items
I will.
list, I'd appreciate it.
And I think for the foreseeable future, we should also put the principal search
Yeah,
so that we get apprised and the board's not going to act on that, itself, but just so we know. I was going to say under personnel, the position description for the assistant superintendent didn't make it. Meredith and I had a conversation. She's taking a swing at the draft that I handed out last time. We'll make sure that it's in the packet and then discuss it at the next meeting. She's looking at making some tweaks and revisions to that so that we can put that in place. That's the Director of Curriculum Instruction position that we have now, taking that position and morphing it into an assistant superintendent job description. Because of that announcement last time, and Chris moving July 1st out of the principalship, the advertisements have been placed for the principal search. The other piece that I guess I have to say is we had talked about having a public conversation about that, and it didn't make it because of other things trumping it. But what I would invite is that the 17th will be our reorganization meeting, and probably not a weighty agenda either. And so what we had talked about doing tonight, I'd like to propose we do then, which is invite the public to come to a 6 o'clock session here prior to the board meeting and share any thoughts that they have about the characteristics, qualities, and goals for the principal of the junior senior high school, because the timing of it is the application period will not yet have closed. And so all of that input will still be useful in drafting a profile like we drafted for the superintendent search, so that as the search committee considers the candidate pool or considers screening, they'll have that profile as a benchmark. Meredith has proposed and is working with administration to draft a survey that they thought they would send out as another vehicle to collect some public input. There's already been a meeting with staff at the junior senior high school to collect feedback. I believe that's what I understood. So that is getting started. And to that extent, let me say this out loud, we'll put the message out as well, but we really we're looking for a community member and a parent to take part in that principal search. So I say to the public, I'm looking at the board, but I say to the public, we're looking for a community member interested in being a part of the principal search committee. We're also looking for a parent, preferably at the junior senior high school level, someone with a student in that school. And I'd ask them to email Pat Ballantyne. She's at ballantyne@newmarketk12nh.us. You can find her email on the SAU website. Go to newmarket.k12.nh.us, and you can look there under the district and find Pat's email to get the specific spelling. But send that along, or call the SAU office 659-5020, 5020, and ask for Pat and register your interest to participate in the principal search. And so we will plan at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock next time here in the town hall on the 17th of March.
And Nathan, I'll go ahead and
Advertise that.
and send the newsletter out with the transition information, and then add that meeting in.
Perfect.
And the PAT request
And
as
the Pat
well.
request, that's great. Okay, thank you.
So we're going to change the March 16th, March 2016 calendar to begin not at 7, but at 6
With that public session,
with the public
we
session.
don't actually have to, the board doesn't actually have to sit as a board meeting, but what we'll do is we'll have some representatives of the search process participate in collecting any of that public feedback at 6. We can certainly come, but we won't actually sit at the dais
Right.
as the board. It'll be that public conversation.
Okay, and who's going to conduct that?
You want to help out with that?
No,
Pat-
no.
Pat Ballantyne, I
Okay.
think, will be there, and I believe Meredith is going to come down and
Great.
participate as well.
Great,
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Moving right along then to policies. I've asked staff, and we don't have an answer yet, so I'm going to ask you to table the first policy on employee use of social networking sites. I've asked them to contemplate and give us feedback on the proposed addition to this policy, which says staff members should not use social media for school or class-related purposes. That felt too broad and dangerous for us to add into policy, so I'm going to table that because I haven't heard feedback yet from them on that. Beyond that, we have 3 more policies that are up for, their second and potential final reading. So the first one is ILDA, non-educational questionnaire surveys and research. This is a brand-new policy. Specifically, we have policy right now about educational questionnaires, survey, and research. And the School Boards Association recommended that we consider the addition of a similar policy addressing questionnaire surveys and research that were not educational or academic in their scope or purpose. It simply speaks to a notification of parents and guardians to let them know that this is being administered or offered to students, creating them for parents and guardians an opportunity to review, submit questions or concerns, an opt-out provision being provided in writing, including email. And so I put this to the board and invite the board to consider this as their second reading, final adoption of this new policy.
I move to accept policy ILDA, non-educational questionnaires, surveys, and research.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Kennison. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
We are 4-1 on ILDA. Moving to JCA, change of school or assignment. It has a limited application as a policy inside Newmarket because we only have a single school. In terms of the classic change of school. In this case, though, there's language that is now helping to define and guide situations, when the superintendent determines that a student who is resident in Newmarket might be better served outside the Newmarket schools in, for instance, a neighboring school because of circumstances that would not necessarily be known to the board, but would be known to educators within the district. And the superintendent has, in the past, established handshake, relationships and has done deals like this for students to be placed, for instance, in Exeter schools or Oyster River. Not because the students sought a change of academic setting, but because of social or behavioral issues. Sometimes it's appropriate to have a student elsewhere, and this is now being defined more closely or more tightly in policy. And so there's actually a limit that's being proposed in terms of limiting the number of instances when this might happen. Again, this is a recommendation coming down from the New Hampshire School Boards Association, in this case, a revision to existing policy. Is it the will of the board, this is now the second reading, to entertain and accept this revision?
I move to accept policy JCA, change of school or assignment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of revised policy as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. The last is our wellness policy, which is a lengthy policy that was established some number of years ago with the reauthorization of WIC. And I fought to try to find anything that had been changed. I think in this case, it was actually not up for revision, it was up for review as a routine matter because the code prescribed that should happen on a routine basis. And so I'm going to ask that the minutes reflect that this was not considered as a revised policy, but as a reviewed policy, and then ask the administration to come back to us with a verification of whether there's anything here that's new. So as opposed to acting on it, I'd ask that we simply table it pending any identified changes that have been made, and we'll finalize that at our next meeting. Which brings us to the minutes of the February 18th.
Could
Yep, please.
I wanted to go back and I didn't think through my comment on the policy note on this non-academic.
Yep, please.
Can I just
Yeah,
make a
absolutely.
statement?
Go back.
I find it, unless I'm missing something here, and I probably am because I usually am, But for the purposes of this policy, a non-academic survey or questionnaire means surveys or questionnaires or other documents to elicit information about a student's social behavior, family life, religion, politics, and so forth. What in God's name is the school have a right to talk to students about any of those?
It's almost like a social thing. We did it growing up, where you would, it comes to have you smoked pot, have you had sex, those kind of things. It's a way for.
Politics? What is
I don't think, I've never seen a
Oh, well,
political thing.
it's in the policy. My religion,
Yeah.
I think if, for a school to even propose asking a child about their religion is absurd. And I don't get it. This scares me.
So, and that's the call for the policy. So legislatively, I think that this, what drives this from the School Boards Association is that just that concern has been expressed, because there's at least one survey that I'm familiar with that has been offered up in the state, and the language escapes me, the particular title of it, but it speaks to risk behaviors or risky behaviors. And so in an attempt to collect data, anonymous data, not identified about this student or that student, but in an attempt at the state level to collect data statewide about the risky behaviors or the risks being accepted by our kids with sexual interactions,
Got all
with
those.
drugs, right?
Got all that.
All that. I think that when the policy was written, they said, let's cast the net broader and make sure that if any such survey is collecting data about our kids or from our kids, and it speaks to even politics or anything else, so they added in the whole kitchen sink. Let's make sure that none of these things have the protection. What this says is there's no protection. If any survey of this sort is going to be considered, parents must be notified with at least 10 days' notice.
I got the argument.
Yeah.
I got the argument, but even to consider that a school would be asking a child about their religion or their politics, to me,
It's crazy.
It's lunacy.
And I don't think we ever would, but if you
Well,
propose.
somebody put it in there for a reason.
Well, I
Yeah,
think,
it's
again,
protected.
School Boards Association put it in. We could take those words out of our policy because we think that it's a foregone conclusion that nobody here would ever ask. But some would
I may
suggest-
be overreacting. It's just this separation that seems to be so well-defined in our community about religious freedom, political freedom, not having to tell somebody who you voted for,
Right.
not having to tell somebody what religion you believe in, not, to me, to even have that as a subject.
Of concern.
And I can think of some really weird ones that follow along the same line, and I'm concerned that they pick those, whoever they is.
Yeah.
Pick those out as things that schools should even be considering doing. It looks underhanded to me. So that's why I voted no.
Ingrid, do you wanna?
Schools, I mean, do schools here have mock elections for presidential elections? Would that be considered a political survey?
You know what?
That's what I'm thinking, is that would probably be considered a political
No,
survey.
I guess that might.
That's good point. Okay,
I understand.
now do religion for me.
Bring my daughter, and she'd be stomping and screaming, don't do that in schools.
Right.
Right. And I think, I mean,
Yeah, but
again,
your point is, I hadn't thought, your
And
point's well.
To Al's point, which is a good one, I don't think approval of this new policy is saying that these surveys would be appropriate.
Yeah, but.
And, I have your same reaction. Clearly, things about politics and religion and some of these other categories wouldn't have a place. But I mean, I think what it's more geared at is if, and in part, you have to have some trust and some oversight of your administration that, silly surveys, and of course, they wouldn't do it anyways, won't get promulgated, So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I think this is more geared towards that, if something like that should slip through the cracks, parents have an opt-out. They don't have to.
I'm quite
kids don't-
confident.
I don't want to beat a dead horse.
No, but it's, but I'm quite confident that what drove this conversation in the state was that behavior risk survey. And it was an initiative, there was no cost, and it was an attempt to collect data to try to be able to say, do we have a problem at this age group or this age group, with drugs? How many report that they've experienced marijuana or alcohol? How many have done risky behavior sexually, and so on and so forth? And when that survey was launched, there was a lot of parent feedback. Wow, how could you be asking my kids about this kind of stuff? Well, it was anonymous. We weren't collecting individual data. We're collecting aggregate data. But as a result, now you get legislation and you get conversation. I don't remember any of those surveys that I have been involved in the conversation about having anything to do with politics or religion. So
So my question is, and again, we can stop.
Yeah.
But why is it in there?
why they put it in.
So I'm done.
Good. No, it's great. It's great. Thank you. So the minutes of the 18th of February, both public and non-public, were in the packet. I look for a motion.
I move to accept the minutes from the non-public and public session, February 18th, 2016.
Second.
Motion from Ms. McKinney, a second from Mr. Zink. Any amendments, adjustments, concerns about the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we're unanimous. Just for information's sake for the board, I want to mention that I had a conversation with Meredith Nato, our incoming superintendent. I called her because I wanted to encourage her I attended this morning's the Regional Superintendent's Conference, a Regional Superintendent's meeting. They meet on a monthly basis in the region, and as I sat there, I thought, she's been in Maine for a handful of years. I know that she's a New Hampshire-based educator initially, but she's been gone for 4 or 5 years, and some of the names and faces have changed. And as she's going to be seated as a superintendent in the region, she ought to contemplate attending these meetings, if possible, between now and then. And so I called her saying, hey, look, it's no small consequence, or it overlaps. The things or whatever, not consequence, but whatever the word is. These things happen on the same day. We have a school board meeting the night of these things every month. So for the months of April, May, and June, if you happen to make yourself available to be in the region, you could meet with all of the area superintendents, and shake hands and say hi, and get familiar with them again. And you would actually be around when we're going to meet, in case we want to have the opportunity to connect with the board
Good move, Nathan.
later that day.
Did she bite?
She said yes. She said, I'm going to be in the district. Once the principal search gets going, I'm going to be down there more anyway. Let me take these dates down and contemplate that. So we might be able to see her the afternoons. We might be able to meet with her to talk about personnel matters and other things, and she might, join us for, a little bit of the meeting. I don't know how much of it she'll stick for, but, so I proposed that. I also proposed to her, or recommended to her, that she seriously contemplate the commissioners' meeting when the state superintendents and other administrators meet. It's the last week of June, and she anticipated that she might be available. She might be free of her commitments in Cape Elizabeth and using some vacation that last week, and if so, could maybe make herself available to attend as well. Because I just thought, and she agreed, the sooner she can put her head back into the New Hampshire game and remind herself of the personnel changes at the Department of Ed and some of the legal challenges and things going on. For instance, we just tested juniors, right, with SATs as a part of a state assessment this year. So we always take the SATs because it was part of college admissions, right? But this New Hampshire was one of the states, New Hampshire and Maine and Delaware and Connecticut maybe, were part of an initiative this year to use the College Board process of the SAT as a state assessment, endorsed by the state, paid for by the state. And Meredith will know about that because she's done it in Maine, but it's not happening everywhere, and it was new this year in New Hampshire. One of the things we talked about this morning was, how did that play out in terms of having all students participate and having that testing. It's a little different some of the testing we've done in the past, especially because it's very inflexible. It was just today. Today was the testing date. All over the country, it was the testing date of the SATs. So those are the things that, among other things, that I think she could jump in and learn something about and get reconnected to sooner than later. And so she seemed agreeable. So just tell you that I encouraged her to be in touch with the business office and to talk about registering for the conference, et cetera, et cetera. So before we adjourn, we have manifest to consider as well.
And remind everybody that on March 17th, if you would like to be involved in the physical search or to give your opinion.
6
that's
o'clock.
6 p.m.
6 o'clock right here, yep.
We have two manifests that we're going to address tonight. The first one is the total payroll manifest, which is $252,345.99. The total accounts payable manifest is $478,438.06, for a total of all manifests of $730,784.05. I move to accept these. Forgot to say it at the beginning.
On a motion from Ms. Shelton, second from Ms. McKinney. All those in favor of the manifest as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? We're unanimous. Don't think there's any reason for non-public tonight. So is there any other business that should be before us?
Part of the transition process that we talked about last meeting, we said that after this meeting, we were going to begin to actively map out the transition process for Mike, for Chris, for Patricia. And I don't know if we've done that or not, but I think the time is right to get that defined. And I'm not sure it should be a public or non-public discussion, but it's just an undone piece of business that is going to be confusing to folks unless we give direction.
Right.
That's my only concern. I mean, if I was Mike, I wouldn't know what to do when I came in the morning, because we haven't, or Chris, I wouldn't know what, he knows he doesn't have to call for snowstorms, but.
That was one of the pieces, when I called Meredith, I said, part of what I'm looking for is that we get you here and involved in an ongoing and regular manner, even if regular is just once a month, so there's an opportunity to know that there's a time when we're going to reconvene if there's guidance, or we'd like your feedback on something. So that was part of it, but I think you're right, we'll make sure that we add that to to all of the upcoming agendas, because we want to continue to voice the steps that we're taking, and the job description was part of it, because for Chris, it's important with the day or so a week that he's coming, as he looks to Pat for mentoring and guidance in this transition period. He's got some sense of what the job description looks like, so that we can know what things he might be working on.
Right, and I think particularly so between Mike and Pat, I think we all have ideas of our expectations in terms of who's going to make decisions about certain things. But they may not be the same expectations between all of us, and they need to be. And they sure need to be for the people in the organization that said, look, if I got a personnel issue, here's who I have to go to. And I think we need to define that. Yeah. Or it's going to be a mess.
Meredith is an paid employee, correct? But are we allowed to involve her? This is my
Absolutely.
question. Okay, that's what I'm,
So,
so,
I mean, to the extent, she's, Ingrid just weighed in on the policy. I mean, the reality is, yeah, she certainly has a role to play. There's no reason why she can't be involved in the conversation ongoing. Obviously, she can't legally sign a contract right now or something like that, because she doesn't have status
but
that way,
just,
but
other than that, she can be
Yeah.
here and be involved.
absolutely, yep.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, how do we resolve, what's the next step in resolving that?
Well, I think that,
It would strike me, if I may.
Yeah.
It would strike me that we need to, one of the elements of that is this position description that sort of fatal for this time. But aspects of this may be non-public in nature. It bears discussion, but I just would hate to get into that with on matters that are.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
So maybe we consider that
You
on
want to
it.
go non-public now and have some of that conversation?
I don't know, but I feel for the people in the organization, because we had this meeting, we made these decisions, and we talked about them, and it's pretty clear in our head how we expect things to work. But if I walked to Joe Schmo and said, if you've got a performance issue, who are you going to? You're going to Mike or you're going to Pat? I think we owe the organization that perspective.
Could we do it on the 17th after we've looked at that, or should we do it now?
It's up to you guys.
What can you handle?
Oh, no, that's, I mean, why don't we at least have some conversation tonight?
Okay.
So I look for a motion to go into non-public under 91A3, Section 2A, personnel.
So moved.
Second?
Mike Kennison, second from Kim Shelton. Take a roll call vote. Mr. Zink?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
Mr. Kennison?
Aye.
Ms. McKinney?
Aye.
And Mr. Lundy's an aye. We are 5-0, and we're into non-public at 7:53.